Hello there. How are you all feeling today? Good, I hope. Now I'm wondering how many of you have been spending a little bit more time sitting during lockdown than you normally would. If you have, then you're not on your own. I've been sitting a whole lot more too. It's not always a bad thing. Sometimes we need to slow down and give our bodies time to rest and to recuperate. But we have to start to think of how much we're sitting and, just as importantly, what position we're sitting in. Now you might notice the position that I'm sitting in. For me, this is comfortable. It's been a habit from a child. My knees are happy, my hips like it, absolutely fine. So no problem for me to sit like this, unless I always sit with my feet to one side rather than to the other occasionally. If you predominantly sit with one leg crossed rather than alternating the leg that's crossed, it can have a detrimental effect on your pelvis, on your hips, on your lower back. So I'd like you to be the observer over the next few days, to be a people watcher, to watch yourself and how you're sitting, to watch your partners and your family members, and just notice, do they always sit with one leg crossed over rather than switching the leg that's crossed from time to time? I could almost be sure that if they always sit in the same position without changing legs, that they would almost certainly have tight hips or back issues. So important that we work our muscles equally. And most of our muscles work in partners. For instance, biceps and triceps, quads, hamstrings, the muscles at the front of your body, the muscles at the back of your body. And when one of those partner muscles has more flexibility or more strength than the other, then it puts us at risk of injury because it makes us unbalanced. It's important to work and to stretch both partner muscles equally. So we're going to go through a little exercise today that will help to relieve any tightness that you might have in your hips and help to realign your pelvis should you find that it's not quite correctly aligned. I hope you enjoy it. Now, it's going to be useful to have one of these yoga blocks. They're quite inexpensive, and Asda, I believe, have them for sale at the moment, £5, something like that. However, if you don't have a yoga block, 2 books. My favourite, Pinch of Nom at the moment. 2 cookbooks are the perfect height, just the same as a block. They will do perfectly well too. Before we get started, let's come to our feet. We do a little exercise to warm our hips and our lower back before we begin. So I'm going to turn side on so you can understand what I'm asking you to do. I'd like you to bring your feet hip width apart and just soften your knees. Gently brace your tummy muscles, and then we're going to tilt our pelvis forward and back. So we have a little flexion to lower spine and a little extension at this point. Now at the moment, you're working forward and back, and that is a sagittal plane. Now we don't have the luxury of working in one plane during our activities. Our body works in lots of different planes of movement. So it's important to loosen up your lower back and your hips in all of those different planes of movement. From here then, let's take a little side to side hitch. You'll need to bend one knee and then the other and just gently nudge your hip out from side to side. Now you're working in a frontal plane, side to side. Can you do this without moving your ribs, without moving your shoulders, and of course, keeping that soft connection in your core? Let's now circle our hips around in a transverse plane. Just a little circle, recognising how your hips and lower back feel, and again, keeping your ribs still and your shoulders as still as you can. Let's change direction. Couple of circles back the other way, again comparing how one side of your back feels, how one hip feels to the other. Let's try a figure 8, whereas we bring one hip forward and circle it back, and then the other. And again, can you do that, keeping your upper body as still as possible? Figure 8 one way, figure 8 the other, and then how about we change the direction in which you're circling, take the one hip back and circle it forward in that figure 8. And that has literally taken a few moments, and it's a very useful and beneficial exercise that you could do every single day to rebalance your hips, to loosen up your spine in all the different planes of movement that you're going to be working it in during the day. Feel a little bit warmer? let's get started. Here's where you're going to need your block. And I'd like you to place your right foot on the block and lift your left heel. So your pelvis is level and of course your belly is braced. Now imagine that you've got a shoe with a flat sole on your right foot and one with a little heel on your left foot. Let's drop our left heel as close to the floor as we can drop it and then lift it back up again. We gently drop and we lift. Now if it's not comfortable for you to take that heel all the way to the floor, just drop it as low as feels comfortable, but recognise and remember how close you've dropped it to the floor so that we can compare when we come to do the other side later. So by dropping that hip, you might notice that my shoulder is dropping slightly too. Let's do one more. And as you lift your heel this time, let's keep it lifted. Shift the weight to your right foot, gently sweep that left leg forward and sweep it back. If your standing leg begins to fatigue at any point, by all means, step off your block, take a little break, and then join me when you're able. This is really going to challenge your balance and your core strength. So as you bring your leg back to the centre next time, let's drop that heel down, we lift it back up, and we sweep it forward and back. Let's try again. Drop your heel down, lift it back up, and sweep it forward and back. Can you do that twice more? Drop your heel down. If balance is a problem for you, simply tap your toe forward and back as I'm doing. One more. Drop down, lift it back, tap it forward, and let's take a step off the block now. You might need to just give that leg a little bit of a shake out. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So pop your block across, stand on it with your left foot, a flat shoe on that left foot, one with a little heel on your right foot, tummy braced, straight line from hip to hip. Let's go. Dropping right heel down and then lifting it back up again. And do you recognise any more tightness in this side than you had in the other? Or is it more flexible? How does it feel for you? Drop down, lift it up. And take care not to push this hip out to the left. See if you can keep your standing hip still and just take that little drop and lift. Let's do one more. And as you lift your heel this time, we keep it lifted. Shift weight to left foot, sweep that right leg forward and back. With or without your tiptoe touching the floor. My balance isn't so good on this one, so I'm choosing to do it with tiptoe down. As you bring that leg back this time, let's drop our heel down and lift it and then sweep it forward and sweep it back. Drop it down and lift it, sweep it. Could you do that for me twice more? By all means, stop and take a break if your left leg's beginning to feel a little uncomfortable. One more time we go. Drop down and lift, forward and back. Well done. Let's take a step off the block. Give that leg a little shake out. For our final little exercise, we're going to come to the ground. So I'm coming side on so you can understand what I'm asking you to do. And I'm going to ask, could you place the block under your left knee and turn your inner elbows in so the creases of your elbows turn in towards each other. Ensure that your shoulders are directly above your wrists. Push the floor with the heels of your hands. Tuck your chin slightly so you're looking just in front of your fingertips. And ensure your tummy is braced. So notice that your right hip is lower than your left. Let's try to lift that right knee so your hips are level and then drop it down again. A tiny little lift so pelvis is level and then drop it down again. Now if for some reason your wrists aren't comfortable here, you might like to make a fist and rest on your fists instead. However, you could do it down on your forearms as I'm doing here. Find the position that's comfortable for you. And as you lift your knee and lift your hip this time, stay and see if you can extend that leg back. We bring it back and we drop our hip down. And try to keep even balance beneath your arms and shoulders. We lift, we extend that leg back just as far as you're able. Bring it back and lower it down. For the next few, as you extend that right leg back, could you extend your left arm forward? Back to the centre, drop that knee down. Let's try 3 more. And visualise your back to be a table. At this point here, a drink on all 4 corners. Try not to spill a drop. As you place that knee down, the drink that's resting on your right hip will slide off. 2 more. Let's lift, extend forward, bring them back, and lower that knee down. Could you do me just 1 more, please? Lift up, extend, bring it back, and as you come down from there, let's just step our knee off that block. Give your wrists a bit of a circle around, perhaps. We need to do the other side. So let's pop the block or your books beneath your right knee. Turn the inner elbows in towards each other and gently push with the heels of your hands to lift right up into your shoulders. Notice that your left hip is a little lower than your right. Take your gaze just in front of your fingertips, softly brace your belly, and let's try lifting that left knee and then dropping it down again. So you've almost got a little hitch of your hip and we drop it down. Now you're working your hips, your back in a different plane to how you worked it when we were standing earlier. By all means stay here, or perhaps lift that knee, extend your leg back as far as you're able, bring it back and lower it down. So as you lift your hip, at this point, visualise your back to be a table with a drink resting on all 4 corners. As you drop that knee, the drink that's on your left hip slides off. So as you extend your left leg back this time, would you like to try reaching your right arm forward? To the centre, place your knee down. How about we try 3 more? Lift, extend, return, slow fluidity of movement, deep full breaths, absolute control. This one will be our last one. And as you bring that knee to the floor this time, let's step our knee off that block. And again, maybe give your wrists a little bit of a circle around. I'm hoping that your hips and your back will feel much better for doing that little exercise with me. And as I said, it literally takes a few moments, and you can do that at any time of day. Watch this space for up and coming masterclasses on hip mobility, flexibility, and lots of other subjects too. Have a great day. Bye.